Here we're looking at the left side tonneau cover lift cylinder and rear lock, which we're going to take out now. In order to take out the rear lock, you have to make a room for access to one hex bolt by taking the top of the tonneau cover lift cylinder off anyway. That's very easily done. There's just one circlip here that's easily removed. Take a flat, small screwdriver, like an 1/8 inch, and hook it under the clip, and just in a controlled motion pull that clip off. No fast movement, otherwise that clip might go flying. I'll demonstrate it to you again. So hook the screwdriver under one of the openings in the clip and just work it out, and there you have it. Here is how we hooked in the screwdriver. Okay, having done that, we can just pull the heim joint off the tonneau cover lift, and for completeness we want to push the shaft down to get as much fluid out of the cylinder as possible. So here are 3 bolts, 10mm hex nuts holding the rear lock in place. We just take the nuts off and then pull out the lock. Make sure not to drop the nut. Number 1, number 2, and 3. Now we can wiggle a little bit and pull this lock out. You will see that the hydraulic hoses are still attached. It is actually easier to remove the clips from inside the trunk, but you could do it in this position as well. However, to take the tonneau cover lift cylinder out, we need to get access from the trunk anyway. One more thing to show you is that the lock is actually height adjustable a little bit, and you can retrace the exact height that the lock was mounted in your car by putting the nut back where the paint is missing. So here we're looking into the left side trunk of a 97 SL. If you had a model year 90 through 94, then you would have a cutout over here with a plug on it that allows you to put the tool onto the rear lock for manual actuation, which has been omitted as of early 95. To get at the rear locks and the tonneau cover lift cylinder, we have to remove a couple of tabs. Those are rivet style tabs. You can actually grab the center part first and then pull out the whole thing. Rivet style, you can do that with a flat screwdriver or any other kind of fancy tool. Couple tabs here, one up here. We've removed the upper one already. Now we just pull this trim panel back. If you want to be perfect, then you would have to take out the rear light and all the other tabs to take the panel out all the way, but you can devise a way to just have it stay in place, and it'll flex back where it's supposed to be later on. All we want to do right now, we have already removed the bolt for the rear lock from the inside of the storage compartment. Now we're just down to taking out the lower mounting pin for the tonneau cover lift cylinder and removing the hoses. So this, on the left side, it's a little bit more complicated. That's why we're showing you the left side and not the right side. On the left side there is a loaded gas strut that helps keep the tonneau cover up when it's open, and that is mounted onto the same bottom pin as the bottom of the left tonneau cover lift cylinder. So let's move the hoses out of the way a little bit so we can see things better. We do not have to take the strut off. It's actually a little bit easier if we carefully move the pin over as far as we can. We do want to have the tonneau cover open so that the strut is extended and there is less tension on it. Now to remove the mounting pin on the outside here, that's a bayonet style, I'm going to show you how that's done in a mock setup here. We have a bayonet style clip that if you slide a screwdriver in there, that opens the clip and you can pull it out in an easy controlled motion without parts flying all over the place. So we've done that already on this side. I'm just going to act as if I'm doing it now. Here we go, clip is off. Now we only want to walk this lower pin out of the way, and when these two struts meet, that's just about the right position where you can actually lever the tonneau cover lift cylinder out of here. And now we're down to removing the hydraulic line clips. That and pulling out the hoses. And I'll get myself a paper towel just in case something squirts. Hose is off. Note hose number 54 matches what's stamped onto the bottom of the cylinder, number 54. Same 37 is the top of the left tonneau lift cylinder. If you were on the right side, you would see stamps 35 and 50. For hoses 35 and 50, of course. So I will show you at the same time now how to put it back in. Let's just use the cylinder and act as if it was rebuilt already. We slide it back roughly where it belongs, and it makes sense to kind of push something through the other side to mostly center it on the pin. Now this pin will not want to go in all the way, even if you hammer on it a little bit. Let's try the hammering first. You get part way, but you get stuck once it hits the bracket on the other side because we have tension on this strut. So now an easy solution is to have to create a little lever such as here out of scrap wood, and we just lift it up a little bit and walk it into place. There we go. The clip slides right back on there, and next we'll take out the rear lock. Remove the hoses on it. Note that the hose number is 20, and what is this? This should be an odd number, but it isn't. It's hose number 23, I just wasn't seeing it right. Hose number 23 and 24 are stamped on the housing, so you cannot really mix up which hose goes where. Remove the pins, pull out the hoses, and next I'll show you how to take the cylinder out of the lock. So here we have an R129 rear lock, and I'm going to show you how to quickly swap the rear lock cylinder. First, let's not forget that the cylinder still had some fluid in it, so we want to cycle the fluid out. We pull the release lever first and push the locking mechanism back and forth. Be sure to have some paper towels around. Okay, now we leave the lock closed and we take off one of the circlips. Again, it's an easy controlled motion. I'll put it back on and show it again. We have an 1/8 inch small flat screwdriver. Go into the gap, walk the clip out, and take out the lower mounting pin. Now you will notice that you can walk this cylinder out in this direction, keep things clean, and you can extend it wipe again so we don't make a mess. And now if you have a 7mm wrench, that is the preferred method of unscrewing the shaft from the locking mechanism. Just put the 7mm wrench on there and rake it loose. What's holding the shaft in this nut is really mostly thread locker, and several ways to loosen thread lockers. One is with heat. Well, there's not all that much you can do. You could theoretically point a heat gun here, but you don't want to melt the micro switches in here. Or you could pound on this nut very hard with a hammer. That loosens up the thread locker too. But if you have a good 7mm wrench, then it's easy to get this loose. If you cannot get hold of a good 7mm wrench, then you could use some narrow vice grips where you grab only the very end of the shaft. Just make sure you don't grab the shaft farther down where it would be sliding through the seals on the cylinder. So you have at the very most a ½ inch to work with here. Better use some narrower vice grips if you need to. So we loosened the thread already. We just unbolt this, unscrew this shaft, and without dropping the nut, I'll put in the other one. I've already put the clips in because it's easier to put the clips in the rail before the cylinder is in the lock. So now we just screw this one, the rebuilt one from Top Hydraulics, in here and tighten it. Put it back where it came from. Match up the mounting hole. Put in our pin. And for the circlip, just put it in place and push it on. There you go. Later on, reconnect this connector to the wiring harness of the car, and ultimately it will clip into the frame here. There we go. Now, very important, now that you've got the cylinder in there, make sure, at least on a model year 95 through 2002, that you open the lock all the way and push as if to extend the cylinder shaft some more, which you just did, and you heard this click, which secures the lock in the open position so that it doesn't automatically come down as soon as the pump goes on and create a fault signal to the controller. So very important on model year 95 through 02 to do the second step where you extend the cylinder shaft until you hear the click. I'll show you one more time.